Hey, and welcome to yet another video learning. Now, I will start this with a little disclaimer that the boss is a little under the weather. Hence, she has a scarf on, she's a little snotty in the nose, and 5 minutes before we sat here, she was actually on the couch under the quilts. So,
Yeah.
nice one for pulling it together, honey.
Yep, of course.
Yeah. So this one is about trusting your process. You've been speaking about this quite a bit over the weeks as you're observing the feedback, the comments. You seem to be getting a gauge of where people are at, maybe their morale, maybe the run test seemed to tell you quite a lot, or I felt that after the run test you were speaking quite a lot about why is it that people were disappointed or they were falling through, etc., etc. We had that conversation, right? So we've boiled it down, or you've boiled it down to trusting your process as a topic, right? So let's talk about that topic now for the duration of this video. What does trusting your process mean to you, or what does it look like to you?
Well, it means to me that whatever you do day in and day out is what's right for you. That is the process that you need to do in terms of gaining or achieving the goal that you have with this, whether it's like a physical goal like a race, or whether it's getting fit, whether it is staying healthy, becoming more healthy. The process getting to a certain goal or a certain challenge takes time, and to rest and trust what it is that you are doing to get to that goal, or whatever we're going to call it, is something that is so important, because you are not going to see gains or changes from day to day. It's just not. And sometimes it's like you even feel that you're going backwards, and why is it that I'm not starting to feel like this run loop is feeling any easier? It's still as hard as it was 2 weeks ago, or whatever. But it takes a long time. So trusting that the recipe that is made for you is targeting for you, is what works for you to achieve the goal.
And you talk about that resting. I guess you meaning like resting in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Resting in your process,
Yeah.
right, rather than someone else's.
Yeah, and I think we have today all the ability to check almost like what every other person are doing, and like the social media is like you're always thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, but most often it's not. And just because he or she is training that and that, or riding 5 hours or run 2 hours or whatever, doesn't mean that that is right for you. And so kind of rest in that whatever you are doing is right for you. So you trust your plan, you trust what you have committed to. And then, as I said, rest in that, because when you're starting to accept and rest in your process, the goals will, or the goals will come, the results will come to you. And there are many, like also professional elite amateurs that they often look to others. What do they do? Maybe I should do more, or maybe I'm doing too much, or maybe instead of like, no, you are doing what you should for you. And I think about trusting what you do is such a huge factor for performing and achieving and getting those results that you wish for.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what you say, like trusting the process and understanding that it's actually the process that's gonna get you the results, or it's your process, it's your individual process.
Yeah, and that's not only in training, it's also in racing, right? And as a triathlete, like, we need to love the training, which is the process. Well, there's other things in the process. There's the environment, there's how you feel at home, your work, your family. That's also a process that all comes together in this holistic view we have of achieving goals. but you gotta love the process. And in terms of a process in a race is also how do you break down the race in small section and stay within, let's say, the first 200 meters of the swim. That's the process of getting out to this first buoy. So and that's the same in training. Just trust it, stay in it, and love it. And if you do each little step along the way the best you can do, it's not a guarantee, but the result will definitely be a result that you are more happy about and more satisfied about.
If you've applied yourself to the process.
Exactly. Right? If you've stayed within it and you've done whatever you could to do this right, you have to be satisfied with the end result because you did whatever you could to get the process right along the way.
Let's talk about, you've put a lot of emphasis on loving the process, loving your process. Let's make sure we don't make it too sugar-coated here and showcase the reality that loving the process is not you finishing every training session being pumped, over the moon, happy, satisfied, and in a good mood, right? Like, let's talk about your experience, because I think people learn so much from what you've experienced. Like, you loved the process, right? You loved the process of training. But what did that look like on a day-to-day basis? I mean, were you jumping up and down and celebrating every training session? Like, be honest. Like, what does it look like? Because I think when we say love the process, I think it instantly puts this really beautiful process in people's minds that people are, wanting to hug, and it's like, but what does it look like really?
Well, I mean, I obviously was very fortunate and blessed that I could live of what started to be a hobby, and I was actually good at it. And that was, I felt very fortunate that, I lived of my hobby, so I loved that job, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it is tough, and nothing comes falling from the tree. And getting out of bed in the morning, it's painful the first couple of steps. You're just so tired just walking up the stairs, and it's raining. There are always a lot of things. You get out on the bike, and there is just the legs are not responding. You're feeling a little off on the day, but that is, as I say, nothing comes falling from the tree. You need to put the work in. And there were days, and there were many days where it was really, really hard, and the only thing I was thinking about was, when is this over? When can I get back home to eat and rest? Because this is uphill today, all the way, and it could be uphill for weeks sometimes, right? So, but it's the whole of what I'm doing. It's this lifestyle. It's this person of being fit and being good at something and loving how this sport makes me feel. That is what I love. I don't always love every single session, and some sessions are amazing and makes me high, and other session almost makes me cry. And that if I don't know, like sometimes you're out riding and you almost risk, I get 5 punctures, it's not possible to continue, kind of like, there is no way I can finish this session, you wish for stupid things because it's tough to be in it sometimes. So it's loving the whole, but not always loving every single thing of it. And I mean, that's life. I mean, you can't be walking around through your whole life and just loving every single thing. No. That is sugarcoating, not a reality.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no sugarcoating in this this training environment that we're setting up. Like you just mentioned there about sometimes it feels uphill for weeks, right? I'm pretty sure we have a lot of people that are watching this that can relate, and they might even be now in a bad slog. Things are not going well, whether that's with work or, I think I saw Jennifer was saying about she's just in not a good spot at the moment because work is really tough and she's not got the training in that she's wanted to. And how do you deal with those situations? How do you recall dealing with those type of situations when it was that you were in them? Now, granted, you didn't have work alongside your job was to train.
But of course, there can be other things.
But there was
that
I know it firsthand, right? There were
Yeah.
so many things that came in, and you did have uphill periods and periods where you maybe were, maybe didn't carry the confidence that training was going so well, because you were in it every day. Maybe I, from behind the scenes, didn't have any concern at all, but when you were in it, you had concerns. How did you deal with those?
Well, sometimes it's not overthinking it. That's the best thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not dive too deep into the training, not analyzing too deep, even though that I like to analyze, I like to evaluate, I like to put things into perspective. But sometimes that is not the right thing to do. Diving too deep, over-analyzing and overthinking when it is that things feels uphill. Sometimes doing those things and thinking too much about it can actually make it worse. So if it is that you are not ill or an injury is coming on or something in that
Scope.
yeah, you shouldn't be worried. Just say, okay, I just need to tick this session off. I just need to go through the motion. I just need to get it done. And just, it's done, forget about it. Write your notes after the training. How did it feel? Leave it, park it, think about something else. So that I don't, because it could bring me down. Because I felt like, I'm not getting anywhere. If I'm doing anything, I'm going backwards. And this is a period where I'm not ill or injured, right? It's just like, I just feel like I'm just sitting there, the mud to the knees, and just not moving. And for me, it's just getting it done, don't overthinking, and then suddenly you will see the light in the end of the tunnel. And but it can also be a signal to you that there's too much going on. You might be coming down with something, or you just have too much on your plate where you then need to kind of accept that you need to cut down in something so that you can get out of this kind of dark uphill period that you are in.
That leads me into the topic of then patience. Patience in relation to your process and your own process is key, right? Like, results are not visible from day to day.
No.
And I often feel that people have an expectation that they should see results every day after every day after every day. They should just see an improvement curve that's just always like this, right? Reality is that's not the case.
Absolutely not.
Even for you, when you were at your level, your results weren't like this in terms of your training outputs and stuff, right?
No, it came in like ups and downs. And I mean, like, when it is that you train day after day, week after week, as we've talked about before, it's a stress to the body, and that's what you want to do. You wanna make the body stressed, or you're gonna want to put that load on the body so that it will, actually what we are breaking the body down for a while. We're putting on load, and then we are clearing off the load a little bit. And then that is when the body is adapting, recovering, and getting better and getting faster. So when it is that, you should probably be feeling, have you followed the program, that you might be feeling like until we got the rest week, there was maybe not, you're not seeing huge gains. You're starting to feel fitter, but you're also tired. But after this little rest we put in, that little week of rest is not really proper rest, but a little bit where we brought you guys down, that you would now be seeing a little bit of a like, oh, I have actually improved. Like something has happened the last 7 weeks, but it's not something you see from week to week.
No.
And also, if it is that we replicate sessions week after week, we can do that sometimes. You shouldn't expect that they are better than the previous week.
No.
It is just another layer of load you put on, you banked it, the body realized, okay, I've got a little bit more in the bank. And then in a while, when we are to offload, you will benefit from that. So no, there is no, you don't see a progress just from day to day. And it's also fine that you actually see it's going the other way sometimes.
And that, I think, is key for then coming back to the topic in itself, trusting your process more than just looking for results upon results upon results, right? Because if you don't trust the process that you're in, and you're just purely looking for improvements in results, you're going to get disappointed most of the time. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's not what you're gonna. And you also have to remember when it is that you do a session and you actually wanna be able to run faster or push more watts than you did last week. If you can't do that, which is very normal when you're in a training block, remember the physiological stimuli that this training gives you anyway. This session gave you anyway. I feel that there are many people that will have tend to like, okay, I don't have the legs today, I'm just gonna pull the plug. I'm just gonna roll home because I can't push the same watts as I did last week. And then you are kind of like throwing the towel in and say it wasn't meant to be today. But if you actually just forget about the numbers, go back to perceived effort, but just forget about everything, and then actually realizing that the body doesn't know what watts you're pushing, doesn't know how fast you're running. It knows all the physiological stimuli. That's what it knows, and it will improve if it is. And this is again if you are not, overtraining, getting injured or getting ill.
Yeah.
But else, just hang in there and just forget about that you disappoint yourself in that certain session.
And the closing point then, I think, which is probably really relevant for the time that we are in now and how shit 2020 has been in terms of, the whole COVID crisis, is that with races just getting cancelled left, right and center, they've been throwing up as, yes, this race is going on, then it gets cancelled. Reality is there's not much racing happening this year now, right? So I think at least my outlook on this would be for people to realize that 2020 is almost a year. It is just an entire process year. It's a year of buying into your process, not jumping out of your process because races have been pulled from underneath you, but actually committing to your process. Say, okay, 2020 is a year where I just need to make sure that I lay my foundation, I build on my foundation, and then when 2021 comes, you are actually stronger and you've been more consistent through the year, right?
Keep investing in yourself and in yourself as a person and as an athlete, and not just saying, okay, it's a waste of time. I think it's so important to take this year saying, wow, I've just got giving a whole year where I can work on the main and the basic things of becoming a better person or a better athlete. And then you will bloom next year, I'm sure. Like, none of us ever had a whole year, especially not if it for a professional side of like never took a year out just training to become better.
No. And actually, when we spoke to Dan Lorang, before we hit record with Dan, we had a chat with him prior to it, and we asked about where he is with his athletes and what his outlook is with regards to the athletes. And he said that they're just seeing it as an opportunity to put energy elsewhere, to put energy into areas where they maybe weren't super strong in a given discipline, or they needed to improve certain aspects of who they were as a person. And Dan was making sure that he was working with his athletes to have that outlook for the entire year, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, I've also seen many athletes that's going into professional athletes that's going into doing aero testing and thinking about equipment and what can we improve here that I usually don't have time to go to somewhere to get aero tested on the bike, simply because when you are in the thick of the training, you cannot afford to kind of miss training days like that, and then you don't take a time out to get that done. So I can really see that people are, putting money into the investment or just investing in themselves to become a better athlete next year.
Very cool. Excellent. Well, I think that summarizes trusting your process. That was really cool and really in-depth. So that's everything regarding trusting your process and making sure you commit to the training.